Hello lovely people, and welcome to another video. I hope you're all really well. You'll have gathered by the sound of my voice, I am not. This is the first time I've put on people clothes and makeup, and let me tell you, it is coming off straight away when I'm done. But I thought I would film today because I'm going insane from the boredom, partly, but also I'm finally back on track with my favourites videos, so I thought I would keep that on, finish out the year in style. So today is my October favourites. Let's get into it. So my first favourite is the Aztec Secret Indian Healing Clay Mask. This is the clay mask that launched 1,000 BuzzFeed posts. I actually bought this a couple of years ago. I think I bought it maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and since I've been ill, I just thought I would have a play around with it. So essentially it's dry clay, so it's a powder in here, and you mix it either with water or apple cider vinegar. I've been using apple cider vinegar because they recommend that you use that, and yes, you mix it together and then you apply it to your face with a brush and then leave it for sort of 15-20 minutes, and it is the weirdest thing. So literally it dries down really quickly, but whilst it's drying it makes your face pulsate. Like it's getting so tight that your face has to is buzzing to get it off. I can't really explain it in any other way, but it is so good. Now my skin's not great at the moment. This is because of how ill I've been. I always get breakouts when I've had a cold, so I've got a couple of breakouts here and here, but this has been amazing. Basically, I don't know what it does, but it pulls all the crap out of your face, but not in a way where it leaves you to break out, or it causes you. A lot of clay masks do the same thing where they pull all the shit out of your face, but then that leads to breakouts. This doesn't do that. It just makes my skin look so good. Even if I have spots, once I've used it, it just looks tighter, my complexion is brighter and generally clearer. So it's really good. I strongly recommend this. It's been reviewed on Amazon like thousands of times, and generally all are very good reviews. It's just fantastic. I would strongly recommend this. Also using it with the apple cider vinegar. I haven't used it with the water, but apple cider vinegar, it stinks, it's disgusting, but it just makes your skin look amazing. So my next favourite is the Maybelline Dream Urban Cover Foundation. This I'm actually wearing this today. It's lovely. So apparently this is a dupe for the It's Cosmetics CC cream, which I haven't tried but I really want to try, and it's fantastic. I bought this sort of towards the beginning of the month, maybe even towards the end of September, and I've been using it fairly consistently ever since, and I don't have a bad word to say about it. It has a really beautiful liquidy consistency that you just blends seamlessly into the skin. So like I said, I'm wearing it today. It has a really lovely soft sort of fresh matte finish. So the finish is matte, which is kind of my preference, but it's not dry or cakey. It just looks very natural on the skin, and it's also very buildable. It does offer full coverage, but not in a sort of mask-like way, and it also has SPF 50 and broad spectrum and anti-pollution protection. I just think it's brilliant, and especially for a drugstore foundation or a high street foundation, it's genuinely one of the better ones. So before we get on to my last product, I'm going to call it beauty. It kind of is and isn't. I just want to talk about my hair. Now my hair, it's been an ongoing issue. I don't know why, but it just looks like it's not the same length when it is. I can't really show you. It has grown a lot lately though, so I'm very happy about that. But this side is just a lot tighter. So, and this side just looks longer and thicker, even though it's not really. It's just this side is a lot tighter, and so it just looks shorter. Anyway, it has bothered me in previous videos where I've seen it, but the worst one is my latest vlog, which you should definitely check out because I really enjoyed it. I went to see Barbara Streisand. It literally looks like this side of my hair is like this much shorter, and like that's the difference, and it's not. It just, oh, it's so frustrating. The problem with having very curly hair, and also this flicky bit is doing my head in. Anyway, yeah, so hair chat. So my final beauty favourite are these. Now you can't see them because they're in a pouch, but they are reusable cotton pads. I'm not actually 100% sure the company is Epi Global. It says epiglobal.com, but it also says Canvalite on the actual labels. So I'm not 100% sure who made these, but I will do some research and I will leave it in the link below. But these are amazing. I actually got sent these by Murad, so these were gifted for their new launch, which I haven't actually used yet, but I will and report back. It's basically like a an exfoliating, it's more like the Pixie Glow Tonic, like a glycolic acid kind of toner thing, which I love, but again, haven't tried it. I've got about a million of them at the moment. I'm using the Sanctuary one. Anyway, back to the point. These are fantastic. Now, I and everyone else are becoming aware of how sustainable I am in my daily habits, because obviously the planet is dying. A climate emergency is happening, and we are right on the brink of mass extinction event. This is science, people. Anyway, sorry, not to get too heavy in a beauty vlog, but yeah, anyway, so I've been really thinking about my sustainability and how I can cut back and changes I can make, and small ones. And this is a really small change, and I used a lot of cotton pads, and now I've got these, and they are just fantastic. On one side, they're like really, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of like a velour-y type, it's really soft, and then on the other side it's more of a muslin texture. So I tend to use this if I'm taking makeup off, although I tend to just wash my face. And then this side for if I'm like toning. So this tends to be the better side for cleansing, and then sort of toning and all that other stuff. But I think they're fantastic. They're really cute. They are all like sort of hemmed with different colours, which I really like. I've used the green one and the orange one, but these are the ones I have left. And they also came with this really cool little pouch, which you put them in when you wash them, and it keeps them in this condition. And I think they're really cool, and I think they're great. I've also recently started using a Lambu toothbrush, which again, very small changes. It's completely recyclable, and I think it's brilliant. It's a toothbrush, but it doesn't harm the world, and that's a good thing. Guys, I can't tell you how happy I am to have makeup on. I keep like catching myself in my viewfinder and thinking, damn girl, but I have to tell you that for the past 2 weeks, and still now I've just covered it very well, I have looked and felt like absolute shit. So the fact that my hair is behaving itself kind of, and my makeup is nice, it's just made me feel much better. Just emotionally, not physically. Anyway, my next favourite is, I have to look at my notes because I can't remember, is Grief Cast by Carrie Lloyd. I don't know if you've listened to this. If you haven't, you need to. It's the most beautiful and funny and sweet and sincere and just really human podcast. So basically the premise is Carrie Lloyd, the host, who is a British comedian. Her father died when she was 15, and it took her a long time to understand how she grieved for him, how she continues to grieve for him, and essentially she's talking to comedians and sort of like famous people really about their own losses and their own grief journeys, and it's just amazing. I've got like a long list of favourites. My absolute favourite episode is the Aisling Bea one, because it's absolutely heartbreaking but brilliant. She says some amazing things about mental health. I'm really having a moment with Aisling Bea. She's amazing. Also loving her Netflix special, which is only 15 minutes, and it's 15 minutes of pure joy, so check that out. I will link that below. Robert Webb is the one I listened to today, the Greg Davis and Barry Castagnola, I think it said. That one's very funny, and it's just brilliant. Susie Ruffle, I completely sobbed at that, because Susie Ruffle is from Portsmouth, which is where my dad's family are from, and I've gone to Portsmouth a long time, most of my life. I haven't gone in a long time. Since my grandma died, she lived there, and she was talking about her grandma, and it was so relatable. Like, I actually felt it, and I did sob at that one. It was brilliant. So I just think it's the best podcast at the moment. I'm utterly obsessed with it. Simon Thomas one is really good. Simon Thomas used to present Blue Peter. Now, if you are outside the UK, you will have no idea what this is. If you live in the UK, Google Simon Thomas if you don't remember who he is from Blue Peter, because oh my god, it will blow your mind. Anyway, his story is very sad. I'm being very inappropriately enthusiastic, but his story is very sad. His wife died, but it's a brilliant episode. Again, very human, heartbreaking, but ultimately there are some hopeful bits, there are some sad bits. It's just an amazing podcast. I love the format. I love it. I think it's wonderful, so definitely check that out. Other favourites are Sally Hughes's one was brilliant, and Joel Golby's one was hilarious, like weirdly hilarious. There was one moment I was listening to it at work and I just could not stop laughing. So yeah, I strongly recommend that. It's great. Another podcast favourite is Lin-Manuel Miranda's episode of Desert Island Discs. Now, if you don't know who Lin-Manuel Miranda is, you are missing out on a joy of a human. But he is an actor and a composer and a lyricist and a songwriter. He wrote the music for Moana. He basically created, not basically, he created the musical Hamilton, which I saw 2 years ago, and last year even, sorry, and I listened to that soundtrack once a week, if not more. It's stunning. Anyway, here's Desert Island Discs. I can't tell you what the songs were, but I can tell you that it was a treat. It was so wonderful and so interesting, and he's just such a lovely, lovely man. He's so fascinating, and I could genuinely listen to him speak forever. So if you're a musical theatre nerd, or you just like listening to lovely people, I would definitely recommend you check that out, because it's great. I love Desert Island Discs as a format. I love it. It's I feel like if you get a good one, and I think sometimes, I know I'm guilty of this, but people only tend to listen to these episodes of people they know, but every now and then you get someone that you've never heard of, and then they're the most interesting people, and it's like chicken soup for the soul. It's just so soothing and so comforting and so lovely. So yeah, Desert Island Discs, Lin-Manuel Miranda, it's just amazing. I loved it. Okay, so I've only got 3 more things to talk about, and I'm going to be quite quick because I'm running out of voice. Although I actually do quite like this. It's like in Friends when Phoebe had her sexy phlegm. I've got some sexy phlegm going on right now. I actually am enjoying my voice like this. Anyway, next one is the film Judy. I actually went to see my friend Adam, who lives in Southampton. I went to see him at the beginning of the month, and we went to see Judy like in the middle of the day. It was the nicest thing. It was such a treat. Anyway, it's phenomenal. It's sad, it's sweet, it's heartbreaking. It's very heartbreaking actually, because basically, essentially, if you don't know, it's Judy is about Judy Garland, and it's about a concert series. I'm not 100% sure if this actually happened, but a concert residency she did in London towards the end of her life and the end of her career, and it's fantastic. If Renee Zellweger, thank you, if she doesn't get an Oscar for this, I will be truly shocked and appalled, because she was amazing. They made her look like Judy Garland. She like completely nailed it. She was incredible, and it was so sad. Like so basically it's set in sort of the early 70s, it might be the late 60s, like 68, 69 in London, and Judy has gone over to do a residency because she needs money to support her kids. She's run out of money, and it's so brilliant and so sad, and I absolutely loved it. And I think it's quite a long film. I can't remember how long it was exactly, but it's one of those films that absolutely flies, and it was wonderful. I absolutely adored it. It was amazing. So yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, I'd strongly recommend you check that out. And I'm not a person to watch films. I don't really have the attention span for them. If they can't hold my attention for longer than 20 minutes, I'm checking out. And that's on everything. That's TV shows, podcasts, films, music, whatever. If I'm not interested, sorry, I've got the hiccups. If I'm not interested, I'm turning it off. Anyway, so I would very much recommend that. It's great. I absolutely loved it. Renee Zellweger was amazing. When she sang, it was amazing. I had the best time watching that film. Oh, there is a favourite I forgot about, which happens every month. I basically keep a list of my favourites in my bullet journal, because obviously I have a bullet journal every month, and there's always one or two I forget. Killing Eve Series 2. Guys, I finally got around to finishing Killing Eve. I watched it also. I watched back in April when I first mentioned it, and I had to stop because I wanted to watch Game of Thrones before it finished, and then was sorely disappointed. Don't even get me started. What a ridiculous ending. So yeah, I'd watched the first 2 or 3 episodes of Killing Eve, and then I've sort of been slowly watching it here and there. And then while I've been ill, I watched it. I really did binge the series 2 last week, and it was so good. Now, I don't think it was as good as the first series. I know there's been a lot of controversy about it, but I think Emerald Fennell, who, if you didn't know, is Patsy from Call the Midwife, which I also do like a lot, did a fantastic job. It makes sense where it went. So no, it's not as great as the first one, but that was the novelty of the first one. She took it in a logical direction. It was still funny, it was still very dark, it was still shocking, and the clothes were still amazing. Villanelle's outfit in the last episode, the red sort of 2-piece, was amazing. So yeah, I really, really liked that. And like, Jodie Comer is incredible. She's just amazing. Like, she is incredible. So yeah, I absolutely loved Killing Eve Series 2, and I wasn't expecting to, because so many people have been like, oh, it's rubbish because Phoebe Waller-Bridge didn't write it. So there are other talented people I mean, she is the queen, but you know, there are other talented people. And Emerald Fennell did work on series 1, so don't be dicks. And 2, she was chosen by PWB to continue running Killing Eve. So, you know, let's all just calm down a bit. So one of my other TV favourites is a documentary that was on BBC 4. Now, I'm not normally one for a BBC 4 documentary, but lately I've been watching them quite a lot because I've been going to stay with my mum, who lives in the countryside, and they watch quite a lot of them, but they're so good. So actually I do have 2 I want to talk about, but the first one I want to talk about is Rick Mayall, Lord of Misrule. Now, I love Rick Mayall. I always have done. I grew up in a house where my dad's a massive Rick Mayall fan. I'm not joking when I say he based his entire personality on that man. He did. My dad is essentially Rick from The Young Ones. That's who he is. And so I remember watching Drop Dead Fred when I was really young. I remember always watching Bottom and The Young Ones. We didn't watch Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, but we always, like, it was such like a massive integral part of my childhood. And also my humour. That's the humour I find the funniest. So like silly 80s humour that is just like I'm laughing at stuff that I'm remembering. But yeah, it's just like my jam. Like, I love Bottom the most. I think that's one's my favourite. The Young Ones, Blackadder. There's just so many that were brilliant. Like Hugh Laurie as Prince George in Blackadder the Third is perfection. Anyway, basically the documentary is an hour, and it's essentially an hour-long love letter to Rick Mayall, and they speak to Ben Elton, they speak to people he worked with, they speak to famous people of the time. The only person they didn't speak to, and this did make me really sad, was Ade Edmondson. But I could either imagine it was either too hard for him to do it, or there are sort of rumours that they weren't as close towards the end of his life, which makes me really sad, and I don't want to think about that. Anyway, if you are a fellow Rick Mayall fan, I would strongly recommend this to you. It was phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. It was funny. It was quite bittersweet. It was sad. I remember when he died, actually. I was at uni, and I saw the news on Twitter, and I rang my dad in tears, and he was upset too. It's just very it's funny when you grow up in a house where something is always on, and it feels like they're a part of your life and they're important to you, and it's yeah, I absolutely loved it. Anyway, my second one that I want to talk about is, I can't remember what it's called, I will have to search for it and link it, but it's about Top of the Pops, sort of like mid to late 70s through the 80s. Oh my god, it was brilliant. It was just so good. It was narrated by Mel Giedroyc, and it was just such a fantastic documentary. It was so interesting to watch, and it was basically how they came up with the concept of Christmas #1, and why that's such a big deal now. It's because it started there, and they were talking to previous Christmas #1s. They had been talking to Human League. They were talking about how Boy George started as a Top of the Pops dancer, and it was just basically audience members were called dancers, and they brought loads in to dance, and it was just so good. It was so interesting. It was one of those things where it was on at my mum's house, and I think she was going to drop me back home, and I think we just all got slowly absorbed and sucked into it, so we were watching it without realising it. So it's like, should we go? And I was like, no, I'm just watching this, we'll go in a minute. It was really good. I strongly recommend it. I will link it below because I can't remember the name, but it was so good. I've got 2 more book favourites, and I want to be quick because I have rambled, and I do have the tendency to ramble, and I don't want this video to be more than 20 minutes. In fact, I'd quite like it to be 15 minutes, so I might be cutting a load of the rambles out. Anyway, 2 books. First of all, we have A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and then we have A Half-Baked Idea by Olivia Potts. So I'm currently reading this. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. The writing is delicious. Like, you want to savour this sort of crumb by crumb because it's amazing. Basically, if you don't know, Olivia Potts was a barrister, and then her mum died quite suddenly and unexpectedly, which was very sad. I did cry at that bit. And essentially it's how, after her mum died, she found solace in food and cooking, and she went to the Cordon Bleu to train as a pastry chef. And I'm just over a third of the way through. That's where I am, and it's glorious. I love it so much. I think it's fantastic writing. Yeah, really enjoying it. And this, I heard them talking about this on an excellent episode of Sentimental Garbage, which could have been another favourite, but I've rambled on long enough. But I will link it below because it was fantastic. Sorry, I think there's a fly in my room. Anyway, and they were talking about this book. And essentially what this is pure Twilight trashy fantasy fiction, and I really liked it. This was kind of my favourite genre when I was about 18, 19. I absolutely adored the Twilight books. Read them a few times. Haven't read them since because I've now realised how bad they are. Hunger Games are different because they're actually very well written and they're a good story, but similar kind of veins. Essentially, it's about Feyre, who is a huntress who has to provide for her family due to a promise she made to their mother before she died. Feyre is also the youngest, so I think it's really unfair that she has to do that. And then she accidentally kills a fairy in the woods who is disguised as a wolf. Yeah, we went there. And because she's killed him, there is a fairy human pact that means you pay for a life with a life. So she ends up having to go to live with Tamlin, who is a sexy fairy high lord. And basically it is Beauty and the Beast, but with horny fairies. I really liked this. It took me a while to get into it. It actually did, I really did struggle at first, but then once I was in, and it got really good. But this is like, this is reading for when you don't want to read. It's completely sucks you in. It's not, I won't say it's well written, but it's easy to digest and it's easy to read, and it is good. See what I mean about my hair? One side always looking shorter. It's just the tightness of the curls. Anyway, this is really good. I did really enjoy it. So if you're looking for a very easy read, it's a very good palette cleanser actually. I've been reading a lot of memoirs and non-fiction recently, and this was really nice just to read something that was completely made up and just good. And also she has done a really good job of sort of world building, but yeah, it's also incredibly sex positive, which you wouldn't expect for horny fairies. It's very good. I enjoyed it. So those are all my favourites from the last month. I'm so glad that I'm finally caught up with my favourites videos, because essentially, I don't know if you know this, if you've seen some of my previous videos you might, but you also might not, but essentially I had some issues with my laptop where every time I was backing it up to an external hard drive, it was backing itself up to its own hard drive, and it was taking up all the space on my laptop, so I couldn't get my videos to export. So I had about 5 to 7 maybe videos that had filmed and edited and were ready to go online, and I couldn't export them out of iMovie. But my friend Michael, who is a IT wizard, fixed that, so I'm back on a schedule now. That's literally what I'm filming today, because even though I look and sound like shit, I'm really happy that I'm back on sort of like a schedule, and I want to stick to that. Anyway, thank you for watching my video. I'm sorry that I sound so croaky, and also not, because it's a little bit sexy. But please like and subscribe and ring the bell, and I will see you in the next one. Take care guys, bye.